Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're talking about silver. Yes, silver has reached yet an all-time historical high at, what was it, $58.90 an ounce? Wowee. We're going to look at it in just a second, but just as a little visual aid, I was playing with these earlier today. Or a couple of the fractional silver. All three of these are 1/2 troy ounce. So I have a Stacking NYC, which is a Instagrammer, does some awesome silver stuff. Big, reseller. You can get some really good deals through Instagram. In fact, I got a lot of silver. The most recent, and when I say recent, the last 2 or 3 years, purchasing of silver was all through Instagram. I mean, some of the sellers on there, you couldn't touch prices anywhere else as low as these guys were selling it because they were doing volume. And I talked about this briefly years ago. There's still a few of them that still do it very consistently, at least 2-3 times a week, if not, 1 or 2 that might do it every day. And they go on there and because they do so much volume, they're able to just give like crazy prices, constant, spot price deals or even under spot. It just depends. But anyway, so this is a Haley Bug mint. So it was like a little private round for Stacking NYC. But super cool. And then 2 Monarch Precious Metal 1/2 ounce pieces. I had a bunch of 1 ounce pieces that had the same, motif, and then I had their 1/2 ounce, and I had 1/4 ounce, and I think 1/10 at some point. But yeah, way back in the day when Monarch Precious Metals, when I first learned about them, I went ham buying their stuff. So that's just the visual aid for today. Let's go ahead and flip that over. You guys can see that. So hold on, let's open up AppMex, which, by the way, I like you can I mean, obviously I have Kitco on my phone as well, but AppMex is just easy. Just open the app, look at the charts real quick. All right, so real quick, looking at the chart, it already dropped down, but the high for today was $58.90, December 1st, 2025. So yeah, a brand new all-time high. Let's talk about it a little bit. I'll zoom in. Again, something to maybe stare at while I blab on here. So last time I talked about silver, I was basically, mentioning that I am totally accepting now of the $50 silver as a regular thing. But you have to imagine, I mean, it jumped, what was the week? Let's see, the 1 week chart is up, The 1 week chart is, where are we? Up $5.62 in a week. That's a very unstable change. The 1 month chart, $8.78, right? It rose 18% of its value in 1 month. Look at the year. In 1 year, to date, it rose $24.51, which is 74.75%. That is insane. Now we look at the 5-year, right? $40.30, a 237% increase, right? And then obviously all time is going to be the most dramatic at 1,072% increase at $52. So, I mean, obviously silver goes up and up and up. It stabilizes, it goes up and down a little bit, it dips, it comes back up, people get excited, there's a $2 spike, then it comes down for 6 months, This is just unprecedented. These times, no one knows what's going on. I was having a discussion earlier with someone, people who are experts in the market. What actually makes you an expert, right? So I guess studying all the past events, what silver did with certain, world events, what silver did in certain economies and situations, what silver did, during, different interest rates in history, what it did compared to the dollar's value, all that kind of stuff makes you an expert. The problem is that, and what an expert would have the advantage of is giving you a better guess than just a common person. You can guess what's going to happen. I can guess what's going to happen. We're not experts, so our guess has less value than an expert who has a more probable chance of being correct. However, when you throw in manipulation of the market, and I've talked about this numerous times, but that has been proven now. It's not question. It's not some kind of theory or, abstract thought. It actually happens. It does get manipulated. You don't really know what's going to happen. We have half of the community stackers saying that, it's still, you know, way undervalued. Until it gets to $100, no one really, you know, understands the real value of silver. Now, if you look historically with the ratios, yeah, silver should be a couple $100 compared to gold. But we haven't done that. In my lifetime, in your lifetime, you haven't seen those types of ratios. That was basically history. Although it lasted for hundreds of years, thousands of years, right? We haven't seen it. But we saw, I mean, almost a doubling of silver value is crazy. It really is. Now, gold's a whole different thing. Gold obviously went up to all-time highs this year as well. But I focus mostly on silver because more people, you know, watch my channel stack silver than gold. But I actually like gold quite a bit. And if I could do the whole thing over, I probably would have focused on gold more. Silver is just so appealing because it is the blue-collar middleman, you know, it's their precious metal. It's their treasure. It's boring when you don't have a lot of money to invest in gold. Silver is just way more exciting because you can get so much more of it for your money. Not so much these days. It seems expensive, but it's not. Obviously, compared to gold, silver is still very, very cheap. So it just makes more fun because you can actually get more of it. You can accumulate more, and it becomes more exciting as a collectible, a fun thing to stack, right? And as I said many times before, most stackers don't even sell their collection. They're so worried and look at the price daily and stuff. But most people, most of you guys who stack, you're doing it for your whole lifetime. You never really sell it. You know, in most cases, it's like, oh, well, you know, when I pass, I'll just leave it to my kids and they can sell it and, you know, maybe pay off their house or whatever, pay, you know, an extra couple car payments. Depends on how big your stack is. But that's kind of the idea, you know, whereas other people, they stack for specific goals. You know, maybe I want to stack for 10 years. Then I want to sell it and I want to take that cash, whatever profits I may have made, and, you know, put it towards my stock investments, or maybe put it towards buying a property or something. Everyone has different goals, but I think in general, people who consistently stack, real stacker, what I mean by real stackers, because if you buy silver, you're a stacker. I don't care if you bought it once, you bought one, you know, tube of Eagles, you're a stacker. It doesn't matter. There is no, like, you have to have a certain amount to be, like, more, I don't know, genuine, I guess you'd say, because everyone has different budgets. So some people have hundreds and hundreds of ounces of silver, and other people have 10 ounces of silver. But what I'm saying, I guess, is the serious stackers are people who are consistently buying for years and years and years, decades and decades. Guys who are in their 60s or 70s who've been buying silver pretty much every month since they were a teenager or in their 20s or whenever they get started. That's what I mean by, like, a serious stacker. Those type of people, they'll die without selling their stack. It's just something they do. It's part of life. It's a never-ending savings. Imagine saving money but just never spending it. That's what that really is, because you don't know when you're going to die. Now, if you happen to be lucky enough or unlucky enough, depending on how you look at it, as to get a doctor's appointment, a doctor says, hey, you have this going on, and you more than likely only have a certain amount of time to live, that's a different situation. Then you know it's coming, and you could probably, you know, make your decisions a little better than someone who just randomly goes one day. But the idea is that, like, no one knows when it's coming, so you're stacking and stacking and stacking, then one day you pass away. It's an accident or a medical reason or whatever happens, you never planned and you didn't have time to sell that stack, so it gets left to your family. And then oftentimes they're not really involved. I always suggest this too. If you do stack, like, a considerable amount of money, if it's over $1,000 even, I would explain to someone in your family who you trust, hey, this is what this stuff's worth, and here's how to find out what it's worth in the future. And when I die, here's where you can sell it easily, you know, and here's what you should expect to pay or get for that, you know, because a lot of times people die and all their collectibles, not just stacking, it could be knives, guns, whatever, they get sold super cheap because people just don't understand their value, or they're distraught. They don't have the time to sit and research all this stuff, so they just sell it to get rid of it. You know, it's just quick couple bucks to pay the bills. So yeah, I mean, I guess the point of the video is to just say that it's still unstable. I mean, will it hit $60 by the end of the year? We have a month. I say yes. I do feel like at this point it'll hit $60, but it's just so erratic. I don't think it can stay up this much this long. But I don't really know. No one knows, right? It's crazy because I know there's the people who are just have diamond hands. You know, these are the crypto mindset of just buy, never sell. But truthfully, when you're buying and buying and buying and you're never selling, what do you even care what the price is worth? What does it even matter? You're never going to sell it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I know you want to buy it cheap and you know, see the price go up, so you have a self-gratification of knowing that you made a good investment. Quote, investment. Because if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on silver to stack, it's not a great investment. There's so many other ways you can put a couple $1,000s to good use that will make you a lot more money back in interest and, you know, just in appreciating values. Whether it is like stock, you know, investments, if you have any kind of index investments, I mean, there's a slew of different things you can put your money into and make a better return. Now, of course, silver to me, I've never seen too much risk in silver because even if the price dropped by half, a lot of you probably stacked when it was half the price anyway. Unless you just got into stacking this year and you're buying all of your silver and you're spending thousands of dollars when it's, you know, $40, $45, $50, you know, that's kind of rare. I think a lot of people in this game have been around for a while. So you're pretty happy because you're sitting pretty. A lot of the stackers right now have most of their stack purchased under $40 an ounce. So it's all gravy. You know what I mean? Those people are feeling great. Most stackers are feeling great because they made the right choice, right? They see it as, hey, I believed in this stuff. All my friends and family laughed at me. They didn't really care. I tried to get people to talk about it. No one found it interesting. But look, I doubled my money. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is, I gained 70%, 50%, 20%, whatever it is. Most stackers right now at this point have made profit if they all sold their stack. But the question is, how many of you watching who have a stack are looking to sell it tomorrow? Most will probably say no. So I will continue to say, I hope silver goes down. I think there's going to be a major correction of more than $5, maybe a $10+ correction. So if it hits 60, I'm expecting it to go down to the high 40s and stay there for a long time. That's still my prediction. But who the hell knows? At this point, anything can happen. These $5 monthly increases are just, it's nuts. I don't know if it's going to hit 60, and then by February 26, you're going to see it's hit 70, and then 80, and then 90, and 100, like some people predict. I don't really know. Like I said, I have other things going on in my life right now to not focus on silver, not like seriously at the moment. You know, once in a while I might pick up a piece just to get a piece. But to me, I just feel like everything's overpriced. Even though it's been so undervalued for so long, we all begged for the price to go up, and then when it does, most of us go, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't really mean that. I don't want the price to go up." You know what I mean? It does seem hypocritical. I've said it for years. I really, you know, silver's undervalued, and it's going to go to $50 again, and all this stuff. And yeah, now that it's happened, it's kind of like, mark, mark. I hope I was wrong about that. So anyone's guess. But that's what I think, in case you were curious. Let me know if you guys have fractional silver. I definitely wouldn't recommend buying stuff like this because it has a higher premium. It's just fun. I got this when I was it's kind of like with gun stuff. When I got into guns, I tried all the different accessories for Glock I could possibly, every single aftermarket accessory I've had for my Glock 17. You guys who watched for a long time remember, I had everything, right? Every possible thing, even the most ridiculous stuff that was stupid. When I got into knives many, many, many years ago, I wanted to try every knife possible. Silver was no different. When I hit the silver, game and I really started stacking, I wanted to try everything. I wanted silver shot. I wanted silver statues. I wanted fractional silver. I wanted silver eagles. I wanted 4-inch silver. I wanted 90% of silver. I mean, you name it. If it's silver, I was into it. I liked it all. But having some years under my belt, if you're new to this stuff and you do want to get into it, which I would recommend, there's 2 bits of advice I think are super important. Number 1, when you're getting started, keep it simple. I really think it's important to keep it simple, at least in the beginning. And I'm talking like if you like rounds, generic Buffalo rounds are it. If you like bars, generic bars are it. The bigger, the better. I know a lot of people get into like 1-ounce bars and rounds because they're cheaper. You know what I mean? Especially now at $50+ an ounce. But if you can get those, if you could save up just a little longer and get those 10-ounce bars, I think that's really the sweet spot. 10-ounce silver bars, generic, with no real premiums on them, are probably one of the best things for stacking and the easiest to sell in bulk. You know what I mean? You want to sell off 60 ounces? Boom, six of those bars, you're done. It's a ton of money. You know what I'm saying? Even when the silver was $25, that's a ton of money. I think that's one of the best things you could do. Now, there's many different directions you go. Some people will say just buy eagles because it's recognizable. To me, silver is silver at this point when you're selling in bulk. If you're selling one or two items or piecing it out over time, that's a different thing. But a lot of people, like, at least I've experienced personally, hey, you know, I have the silver, I stacked it, but I need money quick. I want to sell it quick. That's a lot harder to, you know, piece off your stuff with premiums and you're losing. Even if you're like way in the green because, you know, spot went up so much, you're still just, I don't know, you're not getting as much as you could get out of it because of time constraints. It is easy to walk into any shop and just sell 10-ounce bars. I really think that is one of the best possible forms of silver for quote-unquote investing. All right, if you have no emotional attachment to it and you're not collecting, because that's what happens. People start stacking for investing / storing money / saving money. But then, you know, maybe it gets boring. Or maybe you get excited over certain types of pieces and now you're paying those higher premiums because it's fun. Now you've crossed over from stacking to collecting. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can do all of it if you want. But if I do get messages occasionally, hey, what should I get? There's so much out there. 10-ounce bars. And if you have a ton of money to invest, I would say 1-ounce American gold eagles or gold buffaloes. You know, if you're talking about investing thousands and thousands, those are even easier to liquidate. Everyone wants them at all times, regardless of the market. So that's my bit of advice if you want to keep it simple. But if you want to buy more frequently, the 1-ounce pieces are fine, totally fine. I'm just saying that after, you know, a couple of years of investing or a decade, you might find yourself with, you know, 492 individual 1-ounce pieces, you know. That's a lot. It's also a little bit harder to store. It's just the bigger bars I love. If you can get a 100-ounce bar, even better. Now, there's a flip side to that. The bigger the bar, like if you do go 100 ounces, it's going to be the cheapest way to buy it, but then vice versa, when you go to sell it, unless it's some kind of special bar that's collectible, that has premiums, you're going to get a little less for that larger bar too, because there's less people looking for that much silver. You know what I mean? Like people, like anyone can give you $100 for some silver, anyone. But right now, to give you $5,000 for a chunk of silver, more than $5,000, 5,500, 5,800, you know, as of this morning, that's a lot. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. So, you know, I think the 10 ounce is really the sweet spot there. But hey, you do you. I think that if you want to keep stacking, eventually stuff gets boring. That's why you get into collecting. And there's nothing wrong with it. You can't go wrong with any of it if you're having fun. You know what I mean? Even if you're buying stuff with premium, you're still buying something that will have value forever. When you buy a baseball card or a Pokemon card, or you buy some kind of action figure, you don't know in the future what that value is going to be. It could go to nothing. There could be no interest. It could, you know, go up in value. But silver and gold will always have value. There's no reason to believe they will just disappear as money around the world. I mean, for your entire lifetime and a really long time before that, it's been money. So although anything can happen in the future, who knows, I still think it's a good shot that for the rest of your life, it'll have some kind of value. So anyway, let me know in the comment section if you guys are buying. Even if I had money to buy, I would be just stashing all my fiat. I'd be stacking fiat right now, waiting for a decent pullback to actually pull the trigger and buy, because I think it's so questionable. You know, it's like the Wild West right now in the silver market. It's just nuts. Who knows what's going to happen? But, you know, everyone's got an opinion. That's mine. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.